Hello, I'm James, and tonight's game is Mask of the Rose. Let's continue. I reach for another memory out of that jumbled grab bag. There are things I sometimes remember from that night that cannot have happened. Impossible things. If I concentrate, I can recall. I can't really remember. I'm out of other memories. I struggle to recall them, and they just float away again. The mask has a particular rite and a particular purpose. Wearing it for any other reason would be considered rather odd. Wearing Algernon, there's always the risk the two of them will be thick as thieves and I won't get a word in. Pleases Ferret, though, seeing their old friend. Ah, you've brought back algae. I see you've noticed my headgear. I like to consider myself a fascinator. This is an example of my affiliation with the creatures of the Neath. Ferret appears to recognize some common strand between us. I'll lay out the beginnings of my story, how the rats might have been trained and converted long ago. Now, Algernon here tells me that the rats might already have a dose of religion. Might be enough to give us an in. Well, silly as it sounds, when Westminster School fell, with me in it, it was washed out to sea. I found myself clinging to a school desk and subsisting on chalk. But far below the water I saw a glow like gold beneath the waves. I thought I spied a man much too large. He held a goldsmith's lens and a tail. He waved me on. I thought it was a dream, as one has when on the verge of death. I suppose the saint introduced himself? No. Seems he might have better manners. The rules of ordinary etiquette are famously inapplicable to holy men. Much as I hate to bother a man busy bothering God, might be that the vicar is our next best bet. Any chance you might help me in my traps, I'd be in your debt. Of course I will. Thank you, you're very kind. So I spend a mostly agreeable hour repairing traps and cages. Now and then, Ferret whistles tunelessly. I'll see you then. It isn't anything to do with rats or spiders, but Ferret clearly indulges in a range of additional commerce when the opportunity presents itself. I'll keep the rain off your head and make the constables think you're someone else. At a distance, anyhow. Give you 2 pennies for that red wig. It's a fair price. They go behind the counter and fetch the wig. That's a good choice, that is. Found it under the bed of a certain individual when I was going after the creatures down there. Asked him if it was his, and he turned bright red and said no. So I said I'd do him the kindness of disposing of it for him. Clear enough, though. Good if you want to go around the neighborhood and not look like yourself. Red wig. Wearing this, I look and feel much less like myself. Implausible stories come readily to mind. Close friends fail to recognize me. By the by, if you do fancy a bit of a visit now and then and warm your hands at the furnace, you're always welcome. No need to have official business before you drop in. Always happy to tell you what's what in the vermin business. It might be you can tell me a thing or two about your work if you've the mind. I would like that. A chance to spend time together is always welcome. We'll see what comes of this then, shall we? That leaves time for another errand today. Outcome: dwells underwater. One must hope Theophilus does not have a prejudiced fear of vermin. I find Theophilus hammering some scaffolding against the church walls. A pleasure. Theophilus nods to me. You seem to be accompanied. No need to rack your cranium on my account, Reverend. I am new to the parish, though I hope this will not be my last visit. Indeed, I intend it to be the first of many. That is good to hear. Algernon and I have been touring the churches of London. Indeed, there are less than there were. The great cathedrals have been spared, at least, I hear. And the flocks will return. Indeed, I have a means of increasing them. If we rats can talk, can we not also attend services? I have mused on this matter since it came to my attention. What can God mean by making the animals speak? Though I understand it is only a few. Cats, rats, bats, ravens. I wondered at our proximity to hell, that this was an infernal device. We hear of familiars and such in the trials of Lancashire and King James. Antiquated superstition. Did Cot die in vain? And then I wonder if it is a sign from the Almighty, whereby speech is bestowed upon the most innocent, a last attempt to save us. The animals knew before Noah when the flood was to come. I'm afraid I remain, like St. Thomas, full of doubt. And what do you think, Algernon? You wouldn't be converting us, Reverend. Apparently a holy person has already gone and done the hard labor. He'd merely be confirming that which is already fact. I am given to understand by the dock rats that this saint has already brought the rats down here to religion. Who? There were people here before us. Perhaps it's not surprising if there were missionaries, too. And rodents, too. Perhaps, though if they did, none returned to tell. And without proof... The rat-catcher, ferret that is, says the rats of the dock speak of a prophet, who teaches the New London rats to speak. Well, if the rats of this place have been converted already, a ceremony might be arranged to formally bring them into the fold. A baptism of the rats. If, of course, I can see any evidence that this saint exists, and has performed such a conversion. A hagiography should do with associated miracles. A story about the saint, he means. I understand there is a new archival institution near the bazaar. It gathers the riches of our libraries and sifts through their materials to ensure compliance. The masters, I understand, employ Londoners to go about this work. If there is any truth in this story of rats, I imagine it would be there. Find a patron saint for rats. I want to believe, but like St. Thomas, I require proof. Until then, I really must see to this crypt. Baptize Algernon the rat. There is a brief lull in the conversation. Horatia has told me of poor Archibald's arrest. Down here, everyone has lost something different. So they cast their eye on what a neighbor has that they don't. Like the two women who came before Solomon to argue over their child. I don't think Archie is given to jealousy. Perhaps not of wealth or status. Most people wish for something. Have a good afternoon. It was good of you to stop in. Lord, see you safely home again. At this point, I go back to Horatia's. Outcome. Is venerated. Person. Rat Prophet King. Tell the story of the rat's patron. An unknown and someone met in the depths of the Neath. An unknown did something of value. The Rat Prophet King dwelled in power in the shadows of the Neath, and drew into its congregation every promising new rat. The Rat Prophet King dwelled in power in the shadows of the Neath, and drew into its congregation every promising new rat. A Rat Prophet King saw the rat alone, separate from the kinship of rats, and spoke to him out of the darkness. A rat questioned the purpose of the lesson. A rat invented new doctrines suited to the myriad creatures of the Neath. Meanwhile, the Rat Prophet King's deeds had offended the king of the deep sea. He was transformed into an island and sank beneath the waves. Or has been canonized. Okay, whoever it is underwater. Rat power. Really, what else can we do? Someone did not do anything. I chew diligently. We finish eating. 272 days since the fall. 1 day remains in the season of confessions. Another morning, another newspaper. The headlines today read, River through London no longer to be known by its former name. Londoners warned of strange creatures emerging from waters. This endeavor requires me to present myself as a member of the College of Auditors. Only as one of their number can I gain access to all the volumes confiscated from London's institutions of learning and archives of the Neath. They are not far from the offices of the Ministry, but an hour's lurking outside their doors reveals a consistent rule for those admitted. I need to have a more academic look if I mean to blend in at the archives. One must hope Ivy does not have a prejudiced fear of vermin. That's not bad at all, is it? Why, citizen, look at this. That's lifted a few clocks and watches, and dash if the bloomin' rats didn't christen 'em right up to sell 'em again. Not a mark or monogram left on 'em. And they get better time than they did before. I'll put 'em with the Moonpool Churkos. What are you looking at? You two have something between you, don't you? Perhaps not impressive from a fashion perspective, but would make me welcome in certain company. I'll give you 2 pennies for that academic gown. That's a fair price. An academic gown that will help me blend in with scholars and inspire my critical faculties. This is a handsome thing. Good cloth, fine stitching, and not too worn. Give you 2 pennies for that elegant cloak. It's a fair price. Elegant cloak. Warm, handsome, hard-wearing. Inspires a lofty attitude and an inclination to protect the weak. I wish them both a good morning. Oh, well, top a room for me. It's time to run another errand today. Need to have a more academic look if I mean to blend in at the archives. I should change. The coat says I offer pastoral comfort and am willing to face dark truths, but let's change into this. The gown advertises academic dedication, Perhaps expertise on the monstrosities of the Neath. The gown and badge say I am offering my consulting expertise to the ministry. The wig may be more suited to the stage than to the lecture hall. That discourages recognition. I contemplate how this will strike people in the side streets of the bazaar. Wonder what it says without the wig. The gown speaks of expertise on the monstrosities of the Neath. The bare face will give your thoughts away. We don't want to be recognized, though, so not Algae. Not Algernon. Wear the red wig instead. The archive is in an old brick building, dating from the Stuart monarchs. Inside there is a clamor of academics, gowns swishing upon the flagstone floor. I keep my silence, letting my gown do the talking for me. I am ushered to a crumbling library at the building's heart. The archive is in a process of upheaval, as London's texts are introduced to the master's own store of volumes. In all the chaos, the noble subject of theology seems to be little regarded. I am directed to a cellar that once stored casks of wine, but is now clogged with hagiography. It is dark as the grave. I carry a candle between the stacks, illuminating what little I can. Amidst these vinegary saints, I encounter Eligius in a slim tome on holy men of the Fourth City. I find him between the false saints of hell and a niche that contains the gnawed bones of an apparent Saint Erzuli. I have what I need. I secure the volume in my pocket and make to leave as nonchalantly as I can. A dusty theologian raises an eyebrow, but she is occupied reconciling the gospel with the realities of the Neath. I hear the click of taloned feet somewhere deeper in the archive. This is not a time to linger. I make for the exit, leaving this nascent ministry to its formidable devices. The smog of London is sweet in my lungs as I leave the dust of centuries behind. Safely home, I lay out the fruits of my exploration. I set to work in the traditional manner, with candle, book, and a sharp penknife. It is a hagiography of Saint Eligius, seemingly written in his own hand. The letters sear and dance upon the page. It describes a goldsmith who vanished from Flanders long ago, and fell beneath the earth. One traveler writes of meeting a man of mossy aspect, holding a goldsmith's lens. He used it to teach letters from a book written on his own skin, his Bible being lost in the descent. The text suggests he sought to teach those of varied forms about the Word made flesh. And each teaching left himself changed, until at the last he underwent a sea change. In traditional doctrine, Eligius's disappearance was his final miracle. It seems down below that was but his first of many. I close the book and rub the sleep from my eyes. I have learnt all I can from recorded history. But the text cannot interpret itself. Now I must decide what I make of the matter of St. Eligius. Horatius sets the dinner soon afterward. Person, St. Eligius. Saintly success. St. Eligius sank through a marsh and descended into the Neath, where he found the rats who live below. Spurred most likely by religious zeal, St. Eligius contrived to instruct the rats in the human tongue, enabling them to read the good book. A rat rendered mannerly thanks for this kind service. A rat joined his congregation and worshipped faithfully under this leadership. Meanwhile, St. Eligius's deeds had offended the king of the deep sea. He was transformed into an island and sank beneath the waves. Failed conversion. A rat questioned the purpose of the lesson. A rat hid his distaste and joined among the followers of St. Eligius, until such time as he had an opportunity to subvert the cause. Despite the failure to convert the rat population to Christianity, St. Eligius's deed of transmitting language was judged miraculous, and he was canonized. I chew diligently. Dinner reaches an end. Day 273. It is the end of Confessions. Amber Brooch, is there any risk it will make people think I am myself of rubbery origin? Find out what is going on downstairs. This morning I wake to furious pounding on the front door. Rachel is already talking to Grease and Horatia by the time I get downstairs. I'm Rachel Lando. I believe you know Archibald Reed, the doctor. Well enough to know he didn't kill anyone. I'm not certain of that, and my brother was certainly dead. But you were quick to make accusations. I've come to ask your help, and maybe to free your friend as well. So I'd best not let myself be drawn. You have a way of freeing Archie? I think David might not be. That is, I think he may not be dead anymore. I keep having dreams that David is awake in his coffin. I can barely close my eyes without thinking of it. If I don't dig him up and make sure, I'll never have any peace. So you've come to us to help dig up your brother's coffin? Yes. I have a shovel in the basement, mostly for coal, but I think it will do. I don't reply. She's not speaking only to me after all. Why us? You are Archie's friends, and you want his name cleared. So you have reason to try to find David alive, even if I mean nothing to you. Had an uncle that indulged in a spot of grave robbing, wouldn't mind trying my hand at it. We will not be snatching my brother's body. If he is deceased, we'll be closing the coffin again and leaving him in peace. Sure. Thanks, citizen. Here. There's only a fresh mound of earth. You're sure this is the one? It's not marked. I left these stones. Doesn't look like the grave of someone buried alive. In my dream, he can't climb out by himself. It's grim, slow work. When we've struck the bottom at last, Grease climbs into the grave. Well? It's been a few days, Grease calls up from below. David is still deceased. You're sure? You could put a cold mirror under his nose and see if it fogs. I don't go about with a mirror on my person. She reaches up for a hand out. He hasn't decayed much. There's no smell. But if I touch him, his skin is, well, not alive. Oh. Sorry to hear it. It's horrible to have a hope like this snatched away. No. I should have known better. Such a stupid thing, really. The dreams seem so lifelike. Milton said once that the laws of life and death down here are not as they were above. And so I thought, well, I don't know. Whatever he implied, your brother isn't returning. It's most likely a mistake. I believe Mr. Meares is to blame for sending dreams. It's late and we are all tired. We can go. I'm sorry. It was foolish of me to think there could be anything in it. Grease and Pandita should see you back home safe. You don't need to do that. I'd be grateful for the company. You've had a shock. Phoebe, we have guests. We aren't guests. Don't worry about refreshments. I had you digging up graves. The least I can do is offer a pot of tea. Phoebe! Probably asleep, the baggage. Hello, I let myself in. You are dead! I was. And now you aren't! Not for the past couple of hours. It took a little time to return. And then you weren't here. How is this possible? I was truly dead, and I have returned. The paths of life and death are not as they are on the surface. That is the only explanation I can find. The question of the grave remains alarming. There was a corpse there, and you don't much resemble it. I didn't wake in my grave. I came to myself standing in the midst of London. At one moment I was crossing the last river, and then the boatman put me back ashore. The last river. There was a boat full of the dead, and the boatman carrying us all to the far shore. I found myself there after the agonies of poisoning had ceased. I don't believe I have the pleasure of your acquaintance, Miss Smith. I am a clerk at the Ministry of Accounting and Recounting. I was helping Miss Landau. We were trying to dig up your corpse. I dreamed you were alive, that you were trapped in there. I knew it might only be grief, but I dreamed it again and again, so vividly. We should make a list of what to do. I will alert the Ministry that death appears not to be going as usual. And someone needs to inform Harjeet that Mr. Landau is not dead, and therefore Archie is not a murderer. Someone did murder me. I was poisoned. It was excruciating. He really was completely dead. But he isn't dead now, so therefore that is not a murder. Whoever did it might try it again, and I can't be sure it wouldn't work. Believe me, I still very much want to know who the culprit was. I'd rather hoped you might know who did it. Ooh, and the mask unlocks an option. I don't interrupt. The others may even have forgotten I'm here. I hardly ate anything that day. Only the medicine that Archie brought me. I wasn't feeling well from the beginning, so I stayed in my room to read. There was quite a parade of visitors in the parlour, I collect. A parade? I had Ivy Fitzclarett here walking on a fitting. She is hardly a visitor, and we were not in the parlour for the most part, though she may have passed through. And when Archie was with you, he didn't do anything strange? Nothing to make you think he had a sinister intention? No, his bedside manner was much the usual. He had moments of melancholy. He often spoke of being homesick. But otherwise, he only showed a concern to see that I was better. Although the flavour of the medicine that day was a trifle different. More like other ordinary medicines I had before. He said it was a change in the ingredients available, and that he'd had to compound his own down here. That's a little troubling, now I've thought of it. More than a little? I'm sure it was only a coincidence, and the meaning is just what Archie said it was. So Miss Fitzclarett was here on the last day, and Archie visited. We know that, as you blamed him for the poisoning. Rachel and Miss Riley were at home, and I believe I heard Milton's sticky tones through 3 sets of doors. Milton did pay a morning call. It was not long, and I was preoccupied with Ivy. I held a brief conversation with him, and then excused myself. He spoke with Miss Riley for a few minutes, and then departed again, I believe. And you ate nothing, David? No, only Archie's medicine. No drinks? No tea with a bitter flavour and a gritty texture at the bottom of the cup? I would certainly have noticed. I thought as much. One always has a sense of poisoning victims being especially unobservant. We should go home and leave you to your conversation. I imagine there's a great deal to say at such a reunion. You will let Constable Singh know that the murder is no longer a murder? I wouldn't want the matter to be dropped. It would be the most grotesque miscarriage of justice to hang a man for murder when he did no such thing and his victim is still walking around London. I will tell Constable Singh. Gracious. When you came to us for help, you said it would help us free Archie. It's true, I did. Then pray honour that commitment. That was a rash promise. It seemed reasonable, and I needed help. Can you see any of our cousins agreeing to come down and take a turn with the shovel? No, and especially not the Landau cousins. Such a betrayal of tradition. But thank you, and give my thanks to Miss Smith as well. You truly were a great assistance in a terrible time. If it was Archie who gave the fatal dose, then something will have to be done. But of course we'll say it wasn't murder. You may say it wasn't. "274 days since the fall. We have finished the season of confessions." Richard Landau has sent a note of thanks. Wait a few days before paying a visit. There is no rule for how soon to visit the deceased after they return to life. He'll need to recover. Never mind. At least Archie will be home soon. Archie does not return. His place remains empty. Horatia cooks him a portion, but he never comes to eat it. After 4 days, Grease makes her stop, since it is a gesture we cannot afford. Certainly I haven't helped her afford it. Since the fall, every season is freshly alien. The season of confessions goes out, taking with it many helpful self-deceits. Yule brings the first full horror of the Neath. Somehow, we skipped Whitsun and Estival. Or, no, wait. Confessions is Holomas, so we don't skip those. People stop pretending when an animal speaks that it was imagination. Dogs, it's true, still say very little. This is what passes for tact among dogs. Cats have no such compunctions. On the rooftops they trade in human secrets, and their side glances dare us to object. hypocritical gossips that we are. "291 days since the fall. 14 days remain in the season of Yule." "It's as I explained to Horatia and to Lady Griselda. By the terms of the law, a murder was still committed." "Is he well? Prison is not kind." "So far as I can tell, Archie is happier on the ungulate than he was before. He is like a hero to the other prisoners. The trial will still be held just before Christmas. There is nothing I can do. There is nothing the Landots can do either. Miss Landau did send a letter to the court to explain her brother's change of circumstance." "This is nonsensical. Archie would not have killed anyone, and the supposed victim is walking around perfectly well. Couldn't you go to his prison and say he's been ordered released? Or break him out?" "I could. That does not mean I should. You see the action of these laws, and you say, an injustice is being done, and we should immediately undo it. And it might be that you are right. I have no love for your queen or her servants, though it would not surprise me if the masters were her children." "What?" "Sometimes I dream that the queen in her palace is the mother of monsters, and none more than these creatures in their cloaks." "So why obey any of them in that case?" "For me, it is not obedience to something above us. We are all equal in the sight of our God. There is no rank that gives some people a right over others. But there is a compact between people. We owe things to one another. When we each pursue our own justice separately, there is no peace anywhere." "What exactly did you do?" "I've spoken to everyone I could find. I woke an old judge from his bed in the middle of the night. He did not take to it kindly." "That might not have been wise." "Trust that I can defend myself against a judge's butler, especially if I have just woken him from sleep. Archie will be tried. If we can account for his innocence, he may be freed. If we find evidence that someone else was involved, they may be added to the trial. If you find anything, if you have a good explanation for how it wasn't Archie, provide Harjeet with a suspect." "I would have thought you were too fond of Archie to believe he could do something like this." "I fear it still seems very possible that he did do it. I would merely prefer to believe that he didn't." "I'll see what I can do." "I am always glad to visit Archie on the HMS Ungulate with you." "All well on the streets?" "Every day I can walk a little further without getting lost, but sometimes I lose a place again. Do you recall the second-hand clothes man who used to be around the corner?" Yes. At first, I thought the shop was destroyed. But it's moved 2 streets away now. The old building. I hope no one was crossing the shop threshold at the time. Can't imagine that would be good for the health. I haven't found any half-bodies in the streets. This may not be conclusive, however. Fresh meat does not sit out long. Time I continued my rounds. Don't do anything too dangerous out there, citizen. Judging by the clock, I can afford another errand today. Okay, mystery solutions. We already know the solution. So let's load it up. Inside job. The method of David Landau's murder remains obscure, but I don't believe for a minute that it was through the stomach drugs. Milton explained that murder in the Neath need not be a permanent affair, might in fact be a suitable light punishment. Phoebe somehow got the poison, whatever it was, to David, and it's not clear how. I'm missing something about the method. There must be someone who can tell me more about how poisoning is done. If you wish to enliven the grimness of the coat, I recommend almost anything other than that corsage. I find Theophilus at his prayers. Algernon makes his bow to Theophilus and extends one paw in greeting. You certainly invested your talents, eh? I have heard stories of Saint Eligius. This is unexpected, but not unappreciated. A holy man walking the Neath centuries before ourselves. Well, well. I shall make preparations. Just let me know when you and the rat, apologies, Algernon, Already. I believe Algernon is prepared for the event. I wish I could say the same. And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Which is to say, this is a new thing. We may expect teething troubles. Describing us as ready proves to have been overly optimistic. Fetching ferret from their shop is the work of half an hour via the services of a hired urchin. Moving the font to its proper position and fetching the ewer of water takes even longer. But Theophilus is keen to omit none of the proper steps. I hope my whiskers don't get too wet. Just a drop, if you please, Vicar. They've closed the chapel for services today. I did not think we wanted a crowd. I'll ask you both to say a few words, and then a simple splash of water. Right you are, Vicar. We'll be along momentarily. Look, I know I wanted all this to begin with, and Lord knows it's one in the eye for those sticking their noses up at the rest of us. Carrying on like nothing's happened and a few God bless yous and amens, and the world can keep turning as it ever was. But the great London public, as fine as a body of people you'd never wish to meet, etc. And if I'm the face of this, well, there goes me blessed anonymity. Suppose what I'm asking is, will you be the one to say the words? You've been carrying Algernon about all this time anyway. I'll carry Algernon and say a few words. A shoulder is a shoulder, but I'm glad it will be yours. There, see? I'll just watch from here. And if you sees a tear in my eye, no you didn't. There you are. And Algernon, too. It would be rather a shame if we had to proceed without him. I don't quite know how I'd tell the bishop I'd baptized a rat too shy to come to the font. I can say quite confidently that I should not miss this for the world. Then there's just the matter of the affirmation. I perform my role as Theophilus had requested, deferring to the liturgies of the church. When I stumble over my words, Theophilus steps in to assist. Together we seem to manage. Ecce ratus. Algernon, hold still. Theophilus dips Algernon, gently held by one paw, into the font. He emerges, wet with holy water, and sneezes. These times make many demands upon us, but the example of this rat suggests that though much has changed, there remains strength in common purposes, even if we must redraw the borders of our community. Go in peace, Algernon, a member of our community from this day forward. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think I spotted a whisker in the baptismal font. Well, I can't say we necessarily achieved all I'd hoped. Seems the church might be a harder nut to crack than I thought. Maybe it was overawed by the occasion. We'd scored a blow at least, one chink in the armour. They'll be seeing us every Sunday, and word'll spread. Go on, let's get Algernon a towel. Baptize Algernon the rat. Completed. It's getting late, so I'm heading back home. Ah, my friend, there's a newcomer to the house. Try not to assume the worst. You look solemn, Horatia. The last time was when you told us the supply of cheese had run out. What? Sound the alarms! Let's set the hounds of war! Where's the watchman? Where's the hue and cry? Why are you not all rioting in the streets? Come on. I know we've had a happy little group here, but the time had come of taking in a new lodger. I am doing my best to get Archie sent home. You haven't yet, and we don't know how long it will take. No, but I don't think it's time to give up and move on. If you trust this person, I'm sure they'll be welcome here. It's early days for liking, but I think you'll be more use than not. You should also know he's a clay man, he calls it. Looks like a statue, but he's polite. And clothed before you get any notions. Can he move, or does he just stand in the corner? He can move and speak. I wouldn't have described him as polite if he'd only stood silently. Even if he's the most well-behaved statue you'll ever meet. It's a risk. It will draw attention, and I don't see the need. Everything we do reflects on Archie now. I need someone who can do for me outside the house. And you noticed that I can't go outside anymore. I know you didn't go out much. Suppose the last time I saw you go out was to the graveyard. I don't anymore. I do not step through our front door. But the trade is, I can promise you our new lodger won't do anything I don't know about. Forgive my clumsy interpolation into your domestic idyll. I wish to make myself known to you. I am... He makes a noise like rain running down limestone. I believe the best translation is moss. I hope to learn more about this new city. It is very different from my native Polythreme. What is Polythreme like, Mr. Moss? It's an island far across the sea. Everything has a voice there. My king, he of 100 hearts, reigns over us all. It is often harmonious. There is very little screaming. Silence isn't the same as peace, but I'll take your word on it for the moment. I hope you'll find rest here. If rest is indeed all Mr. Moss is looking for. Pandita. Time was when my family owned everything your eye could see around here. Impressive. What motivates a clayman to reside in a boarding house in the first instance? I assume you neither eat nor sleep. The accommodations would seem to be of little value to you. Griselda. No, it is an honest question. This seems a happy place. He makes a sound like water flowing through the spout of a gargoyle. Oh, I was not made for deceit. The king did not fashion these lips for lies. I sought a man in the previous city. I did not find him. I believe he was at odds with the Khans. Who? I have heard they call themselves masters now. They style themselves after their latest acquisition. But the man is gone, and everything has changed. I hope to find my place and my purpose once more. Perhaps we should let Mr. Moss settle in before we bombard him with questions. Quite right. I'm glad someone retains a sense of manners. In Polythreme, we are always in union. A polyphony makes a pleasant change. I was looking for someone in the last city. Yours falling came as a surprise. There, you see, Mr. Moss requires his rest. I have no wish to be a burden. In Polythreme, what the king wishes to occur, occurs. But there are 3 of you. I will wait for you to reach an accord. I require respite rather than shelter. It will not be an undue inconvenience if I am better to look elsewhere. And he's meant to keep us safe, is he? If I were a housebreaker, I'd give him a wide berth. Besides, Harjeet said he considered it his obligation to help Mr. Moss find a home. That it was a good deed to place him here. If Harjeet thinks the deed makes up for arresting Archie, I have some questions about the moral accounting. Not everyone tallies their good and bad deeds in a double-entry ledger book, Lady Griselda. Whatever the Ministry may have told you. But he's right. If we're all to rub along here, you all need to be comfortable with our new lodger. You live here just as much as I do. I think you're likely to be outvoted, Horatia. No one has a better heart than you. But we must think of Archie. We court suspicion and perhaps the master's anger. If Archie were here, I'd say different. I think we have room for one more. I shall go and tell Mr. Moss the good news, and let him know he has you to thank. On your heads be it if this goes awry. But I'll do what I can to smooth things over if the Ministry involves itself. Moss and the King. A shape coalesces in the attic, or more accurately, looms. I am sorry if I startled you. I hoped we might become better acquainted. And I have several questions regarding my tenancy here. I would have asked the others, but Mrs. Chapman was dozing, and Miss Smith told me she was engaged in important business. I did not realize business constituted the imbibing of wine. I have much to learn. Do let me know when I make an error of etiquette. I am sure there shall be many. I'm glad you've made the journey. Yes, a great many stairs. In Polythreme, the arcades curve, so that one's feet ascend and descend at gentle intervals. Marble is a common resource here as well, I assume. I shall make a recommendation to Horatia. I am afraid I did have a question. In Polythreme, our king rang a hollow bronze chime to summon us when required. His favored servants all bear his own image, so both our station and our duties are clear to all. I am afraid I find the etiquette here more confusing. I hoped you could explain my duties. As a lodger in Mrs. Chapman's guest house. Mrs. Chapman does not leave the house. If you can serve as her messenger outside, that would assist her. I had noted her affinity with the building. It is a relationship I have not observed in Polythreme, but all the same, more like home than most things in Londinium. This seems in line with my expectations. I had one last question, forgive me, but I wondered your thoughts on my behavior thus far. I hoped to be well liked here, if you could advise me. You should not try to be anything more than you are. Do you mean just as I am? Without reference to my king as my exemplar? He makes a sound like the crumbling of lichen on stone. It is against what I have learnt before, but this is a new city. I must adapt. Good night, as they seem to say here. A phrasing that confuses me. It is always night here. Day 292. 13 days remain in Yule. As usual, I resort to the morning papers. The headlines today read, "The Master's new Fist of the Bazaar hired amid billiard hall scandal." Sometimes now I try to remember the surface. What was it like before February, when we all still lived as a world of day and night, winter and summer? When Greece kept her distance from the other lodgers and wore gowns? When there was enough food on the table, and it wasn't always the same? Sometimes I can't get my memory to go back further than the night of the fall. After the fall, there was a time when I didn't go to dinners. Are you ill, citizen? You may find you have an appetite if you get out a bit. Take a walk and stretch the legs. Constable Ajit will take you if you want to go. I'm not a child. No, that you aren't. I don't like to see you in this state. Come downstairs. We've said our piece. Best to leave it. Algernon is game for the visit. Actually, let's do this. One must hope Moss does not have a prejudiced fear of vermin. This must be suitable wherever we go, I feel. An austere and sober look that does not detract from the glory of your headgear, and the mask will make your expressions more difficult to read. Good morning, Pandita. I hope you're well in these times. The Ministry of Accounting and Recounting have asked me to work on the census. I see. Do claymen take spouses? I understand the terms, but have no experience of the concept. In polythreme, one is part of a greater whole. One of us cannot be separated from all of us. And the king with 100 hearts encompasses us all. And you are all in union with the king. I serve my king. We are one. But it is a little more unusual. And I thought you were getting to trust me. Moss hesitates. One can't always unburden oneself, however appealing it might be to do so. I had a question, if you don't mind indulging me. Have you ever been in love? I don't mean the physical process. He makes a shattering sound deep in his throat that is reminiscent of two boulders colliding. Rather, the companionship, the desire for it. I'd rather talk about you. It seems a leading question. I cannot say that I have. I was raised by my king, he of 100 hearts. I know only his love, all that he deems fit for me to know, and now I walk apart from it. A noise issues from a heavy chest in the corner of Moss's room. It sounds distinctly like help. It was his suggestion, of course. The trouble with kings is that even their suggestions sound like commands. A further noise follows. It is a garbled shout. "Release me! How dare you subject a crown to such indignity? This is the sort of treatment fit only for unruly caps and truculent bonnets." Moss, you were saying? Yes, indeed. I enjoy conversational gambits that let us avoid unnecessary topics likely to cause distress. Perhaps we might return to happier topics. The boss... Oh, hang on. The box makes a noise that sounds extremely like, "We will have you thrown in the ocean for this. You will sink like the stone you are." I do not know how it grasped your language so quickly. I must assume crowns are quick to adapt the customs of their wearers. Further shouting follows, muffled by the heavy chest. I see that I will have to explain. I have heard that every Englishman is an island, and on that island is a king. My home is similar in that it is an island and it has a king. My king obliged me to bring a gift of his into the previous city. It was to be delivered to an old acquaintance of his who resided there. They had a tradition of exchanging gifts. My task was to deliver the latest. A task whose difficulty, I regret to say, has only increased since your city fell on it, for which I hold you in no way responsible. My king bore this acquaintance only love, yet plainly this person did not wish to be found. He makes a noise like a statue dropping into an ocean. The king's heart is much larger than my own. Evidently, it is of such a size to accommodate complexities. You must be very trusted to be given this task. Thank you for saying so. The king could not have appointed it someone else, it requiring such an extent of time and distance. The box makes an indignant noise. It speaks Loamspratch, the language of clay. The box repeats itself. I must object. It is not a connection that would have occurred to me. The box makes a noise like a knife on a whetstone. I did not ask anyone before, because first the city was in a state of anarchy, and then another city fell on top of it, which made establishing a rapport sufficient for asking a favor a little difficult. A further indignant burst of Loamspratch emerges from the box. My apologies. The gift has happened upon a solution to my problem. It is a crown. It is intended for the recipient's head. The recipient is absent, but the king believed dreams might lure him out. They were a favorite of his. If the crown were suffused in your dream stuff, the king believes his old friend could not resist seeking it out. This clod is forbidden to dream, therefore yours will have to do. Would you be willing to help us and donate a dream? I'd be glad to be rid of them. I wake screaming most nights. I had not wished to comment. If you ever wish someone to speak to, I am always awake, and the small hours do get a little quiet, but for this purpose all dreams are equal. Only their vividness differentiates the good from the portionally old. He gazes at it for a moment, an unreadable expression on his stony face, before he passes it to me. The horned crown. There are always risks in wearing a hat with opinions of its own. This crown was worn by my king once. You may whisper your dreams to it. I do not believe it will take advantage of this knowledge. All you need to do is recall a dream and whisper it into our horns. Then wear us upon your head when you next go into the city. If the one who is to receive us has returned to London, he will find us. If he has not, well, you will get to receive the unearned privilege of wearing us for a short while. You may not thank us. The tears we are certain we can see in your eyes will suffice. If, of course, you want to do this. He makes a noise that sounds like a drop of water on marble. This is our task. I can find another way if I must. He says something in grinding loam scratch. I wonder if it means there must be another way. I'm sorry this has been a burden for so long. It is a kind thought. I am sorry your home fell through the earth and condemned everyone in it to live in a cave forever. The man will seek both the dream and the dreamer. So, will you do it? Will you take the crown and find the man I was sent to deliver it to? I will take the crown and find this missing man. My gratitude is... It is difficult to express in either loam scratch or your own tongue. He is happy is the translation. Now I must be filled with your dreams. Come whisper them into my horns, and I shall tell you a secret in turn. I lean in close and feel the cold and ancient crown upon my lips. It seems like it is made of ivory or bone beneath the gold. I tell it of the dreams of the streets, the chase, the hue and cry, the click of a lock and the wealth that lies in a warm house lightly kept. I tell it of the other doors I see in my sleep, ormolu and ivory, opening like mouths in a great towering edifice. I tell it of how I know they wait to swallow me whole. Ask Harjeet about a man searching for dreams. What a busy thing your nocturnal imaginings are. I do not sleep. Even if I did, the king has not authorized dreams. But if I dreamed, it would be of territories not yet conquered. That seems the province of crowns. Now your reward. I know a secret about our moss under limestone. Who unworthily bears the face of our king? I lean in to hear the bronze-toned whisper of the crown. He hid me in his box for fear. In completing the task, he would find his way back to Polythreme. But with it so close in reach, were he to fail, he would be deemed unfinished. The worst thing a clayman can be, disobedient, truculent, incomplete. Moss glances up at me from across the room. He is far too polite to admit to eavesdropping. Now I am well filled. Let us see about our missing man. Harjeet may be useful. If my king's friend is lured back by the crown, Harjeet may see him on his rounds. Thank you once more. It means more than words I can express. I just have time for another errand today. Hello, to what do I owe the pleasure? Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about the murder? There are some things I don't understand. Yes, clearing up human misunderstandings is one of my favorite pastimes. It is possible, of course, that you will get some answers you do not want, but that will just make the conversation more delicious. This can't reflect on you, of course. Did Phoebe have any poisons handy? Did you perhaps give her any? She made the candles in the household. Her ingredients were, I believe, unusual. Arsenic to improve the brightness of the burn. Whether that would have been enough to kill a man, that, I imagine, would depend on further circumstances. Do you know of any reason for Phoebe to have killed David? She did not want him dead, I am certain of that. It's possible, of course, that she knew he wouldn't remain in that state. Then one would have to ask, who would have something to gain from his temporary departure to the boatman, or the other alterations that result from that journey? The answer to this question doesn't change anything, not by itself anyway. Could you have dosed David? Was there a moment you could have intervened? I visited the house. I did not attend David Landau's sickbed. Instead, I had a brief conversation with Rachel Landau, and went away again. I did not put poison in Archie's medicine. For a moment no one speaks. Milton considers whether there is anything to add. I fancy we are fated to meet again, citizen. Your transparency makes an interesting diversion. By now, Horatio will be wondering where I am. Circumstance. Poison candle. How by candle? Suppose our cynical candles made the air itself poisonous to David Landau. Milton explained that murder in the Neath need not be a permanent affair. Might in fact be a suitable light punishment. Phoebe somehow got our cynical candles to David, and it's not clear how. The question is how Phoebe managed to get the candles into David's room. The other option we have is that David somehow offered an unknown provocation. I don't want them. He is trying to be kind. They are an abomination unto the Lord, and more importantly, an abomination unto me. Can't you make her see sense? Our new lodger is making horrid dolls for reasons best known to himself. Clay versions of us. Please make him stop doing it. Lay it on me. I think he means to make an army. They're not like him. They don't move. Yet. Moss is surrounded by a profusion of little clay men. Oh. I'm sorry, yours is not ready. Several defective greases lie discarded, their expressions variously contemptuous or angry. Her hair, too, appears to have been a point of difficulty. There is something chilling about the collection. I remember my king in his marble palace, his garden of statues all made in his image. Ah, there's Greece there in the background. I thought the other residents would appreciate a similar gesture. There are other means of winning friends. I said nothing about friends, but I won't waste my efforts if they are not wanted. I shall fetch them back. Day 293. 12 days remain in Yule. I'm the first of the morning paper. The headlines today read, Bazaar distributes eco currency for purchase of food and fuel. I reach for another memory out of that jumbled grab bag. What morbid thing are you reading now? It's the Illustrated London News. That's worse. What have they got this time? Engravings of the latest executions? The crowd gathered to see the deaths? Would it be like that again? I haven't been to a public execution since the fall. It's the Queen with Prince Albert and the children, and a Christmas tree. Ah, they're sending that round again, are they? Then, this I recall. She took the picture and put it up in the frame of a mirror for decoration. If I'm to lure this unknown person with the horned crown, I will need, I assume, to be wearing it. My chief garment is like a blank canvas. My garb invites the onlooker to wonder what visitors from past cities have to do with flashy and amusing companions. With law-abiding citizens. With Neath monsters. The apron and the crown say I'm a tailor of a very esoteric kind. The corsage indicates a taste for bright colors. The gown and the artifact proclaim me to be an archaeologist or anthropologist, and perhaps too personally invested in my field. The cloak says there's wealth and breeding in my recent past, but the crown implies I am highly placed in a secret religious order. As for the corsage, I admit it is startlingly vulgar. Brigitte nods to me without speaking. Have you seen a man who... I don't actually have any idea what he looks like. He would be in red and gold. He would appear alone and say things that to you would appear strange. My goodness. A talking hat. A talking crown. Of course. My apologies. This man would have been encountered only in the small hours, usually given only to the dead. Much has changed, but my master knows these are constants. I saw a man in a coat out of fashion. He asked me a variety of strange questions. About Archie, too. It was near Shaftesbury Avenue. The streets tangle. The lights are few here. A man approaches. A good evening to you. I find myself caught on dusk's wing, like a firefly whirled upon a zephyr. A pleasure to encounter another of Twilight's walkers. You may call me May. Pray, visit no witticism upon me. The name has its origins in a place far older and sadder than this. It is an evening. Ah, famed British understatement. I am delighted to make its acquaintance. Truth be told, I venture out in search of dreams, one in particular. A crown upon an uncrowned head. A headpiece which has a life all its own, yet is not free. It was meant for me, yet resides with thee. It was my dream once to possess, yet you have it first. The king no doubt suggested that giving it a dream unknown to me would lure it out, and it has, as he knew it would, though the giving of a dream has dual purpose, both to catch me and to humble me. Only by possession of another's dream could I ever think of wearing the crown. And thus such ambition is but night's ephemera. The horned crown says something unspeakable in Loamspratch. I think it means it would like May to come to the point. Well, I think it is more than passing rude to listen to the dreams without the consent of the dreamer. Stored as they are in your horned head, I think I'd prefer to hear from the source direct. I dream of a locked door and the riches behind it. A door opens both ways, and more than doors, too. Perhaps you are readier for the Neath than you know. Your dreams are a delight, and suggest one day my door will open for you. There, crown, my head is unpolluted of whatever ambition I might hold in my head. The crown you wear was intended for me. I have been lax in my time in the last city. I lingered in dreams, hoping to restore something I'd lost. And in my absence I have missed an overture to find what I was missing. I know my heart's desire would not have sent you with this. Ergo, someone else was sent. A man of clay, I'd wager, one of the king's own servants. But he faced an obstacle. Clay men, as you must know, do not dream. My king does not like to make a task easy. Now I must begin the ritual to signal my acceptance of this gift. There are much easier ways, but my love is a traditionalist. And these were written on the boughs of the twin cedars long ago. The rules of courtship, as sacred in the observance as in the act. Now give me the courtesy of a minute. This must be performed in private. I take a step back and give May the privacy he desires. I watch as May takes the crown and sprinkles something atop his head, and then onto the crown. For a moment I catch the unexpected scent of cedar wood in the air. The creditor is at hand. Then he presses his lips against the crown and mutters a few words that sound to my untrained ears like an incantation. He does not let the crown rest upon his hair before he takes it off again. "Tell the crown-bearer his prince comes. I shall keep this gift." The horned crown says something in guttural loam scratch that I did not make out. "For a time. I will see you again soon." As he goes, I see him place the crown upon his head. That leaves time for another errand today. Discovered May. The badge will eliminate any expectation of a social visit, at any rate. But let's change. We no longer have the horned crown. We have Algernon. The gown speaks of your expertise in, shall we say, deceptive coloration. The bare face will give your thoughts away. Who sold you that cheap corsage? Do you know what you did to offend them? Should you not apologize post-haste? This must be suitable wherever we go, I feel. You have a visitor? Good to see you. I pause and look in Phoebe's direction. Algernon doffs his own small cap to Rachel. Rachel makes a few flattering remarks on my better points. What are your origins? What sort of people do you come from? I can guess a few things from your clothes and your voice, but there are contradictions. I tell the story as I have told it before. I omit the more frightening and violent aspects of the tale. Don't let it go to your head, but I find you impressive. It will pass, don't worry. Seems I've passed some test. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about the murder? There are some things I don't understand. Yes. Is David answering your questions? Not yet, but I was hoping you would. It's for the sake of the law. I see. Arjeet did ask me to. Oh, did he? Yes, very well. You were here the night David returned, so you recall what happened on the day. I remember what he said. Did anyone bring candles into David's room the day he died? That was Phoebe's task. I would sometimes arrange candles in the other room. She was always fussing over the lighting there. He needed a great many candles to read. It's not a small part of the household expenses. Is it possible that Milton did this? He didn't go into David's bedroom on the day. They weren't on friendly terms. And whatever David said, Milton didn't mean us any harm. How far did the dislike go? David thinks Milton is a person of loose morals and tastes, and he has been too ill himself to accompany me to any of Milton's salons. He imagines it's all ladies of the demi-monde peeling grapes for the gentlemen, instead of a company of well-dressed men and women debating the emergence of a new apocalyptic tradition in art, and debating whether one might include London's graffiti among the examples. Did Milton and David fight, as far as you know? Not if you're picturing fisticuffs or duels in the alley. For the most part, it was a cutting aside here and there. For the most part, there was something beyond asides then. I'll owe you a favor if you tell me. Whatever you wish to collect. Rachel hesitates between two disagreeable prospects. Friendship has a claim on me. David did confront Milton once when he was visiting. He asked his intentions and suggested that he might forbid Milton to visit. David is not well enough to try to force Milton out himself, and we don't have as many servants as we did. Phoebe could hardly drag Milton out of the house herself. Milton said a few words. They must have been in English, but I didn't understand them. David was as confused as I was. But just then I saw in the mirror, in our parlour, the image of a different David, pale white and waxen, staring out from beyond the glass. The reflected David mouthed some words. We couldn't hear them. They were silent as a dream, but we could see that the reflection spoke with a split tongue. David and I stood there looking at it for a moment, and then it was gone. I don't know what happened, what the image was or what it meant, or whether Milton summoned it or whether it came of its own accord. It's not the first time down here that I've heard someone seeing something in the mirror that isn't there. But David was as quiet as though he had been rebuked. He didn't say anything else to Milton. You find me at a difficult time. Oh? My publisher writes to say that if I do not produce chapters more quickly, I will be replaced. He'll hire someone to complete the novel according to his best sense of its current trajectory. His, and do you know who it is my publisher thinks to assign? Mr. Hoffam, a man and a Christian, of course. He'll cram the story full of orphans and moral improvements. But my publisher says Mr. Hoffam is reliably timely in the production of new pages. Whatever one says, he cannot be faulted for speed. I place no hope in whatsoever in his being able to render my characters, however. I wouldn't put him past him to make my heroine convert. Wait, I have an idea. David and Phoebe are of no help to me. But you, citizen, you've been going all about town collecting people's personal details. Not only that, but you have access to the bazaar. You know what the masters are doing. We've spoken before, but we could make this more formal. You can help me with plots. What did you have in mind? I need a plot about how my heroine recovers from her betrothal to someone left behind on the surface. Just the skeleton of how it happens. I can do the rest. If you could contrive a way for her to end the business, that would be very welcome. All of my thoughts have proven insipid. Of course I will. Thank you. Kindness is like milk and honey down here. Anything would do. Help Rachel plot her next story. Rachel falls into telling me stories of Milton's salon. It is attended mostly by writers and poets. Especially daring poets will sometimes attempt a reading, but Milton's side commentary has proven a deterrent to the softer-bellied. He has no patience with work that's made to pattern. It's a story about the uncomplaining suffering of wives, servants, children, or dogs. There is also a strict rule against pains to faithfulness of Penelope or Ruth, or the Virgin Mary. If anyone dares say something like that, he quips it out of existence. She goes on like this for some time, introducing me in turn to all the characters of that world, whether highborn or not. There's a chapter waiting for me to finish it. Look after yourself, citizen. It's time to go home. Action. Took in candles. Okay, let's start on the plot for Rachel to get her heroine out of a ruined engagement. The spoilt beauty had lost her betrothed in the fall of London. He was believed to be traveling in France. The spoilt beauty had begun to fear she had never see him again. Meanwhile, they somehow came to her social circle. An unknown did something to the spoilt beauty. The spoilt beauty did something in response. The enchanted king somehow came to her social circle. Neath born. The spoilt beauty had lost her betrothed in the fall of London. He was believed to be traveling in France, but he was as inaccessible as if he had died. The separation was intolerable. Meanwhile, the enchanted king was the offspring of a notorious criminal, and had retired where his father's imprisonment was unknown. Enchanted king proposed a clandestine affair to her. The spoilt beauty found herself mentioning the enchanted king in conversation rather more frequently than necessary. The spoilt beauty is happy in love. Enchanted king wrestles regrets. Events took their inevitable course, and the spoilt beauty is unhappily married. The enchanted king fights regrets. Yes, that is sour enough. I come home to find lights on in the parlor. The sound of laughter and the clink of glasses can be heard. And then the butler says, "It's not my bailiwick, that's in the soup." Oh, most droll. We have a similar story on Polythreme. It involves a most disagreeable pair of boots and the king of 100 hearts. It makes a sound like the formation of diamonds under intense pressure. The problem is when the king, bereft of other footwear, is forced to don the pair. The day proceeds as best it can, and without notable incident. But afterwards, the second boot asks the first, "He's a nice chap, but his left is larger than his right." Oh, you've heard this one before. They look up as I enter. Grease has opened a bottle of wine. Moss is dipping some of his lichen into a glass. What's the occasion? I took to heart your advice regarding my dolls. I sought a more appropriate gift for my fellow lodgers. And happily, Mr. Moss landed upon wine. A frightful blend, but it gets the job done. Where did you find this wine, Moss? A cellarer at Hogsladen Market said there was a surfeit of them in the Thames. He speculated that a door in the old Parliament had given way. I did wonder what kept old Palmerston afloat. He came to supper once. Mother thought him a tremendous bore, but there was talk of a peerage. Moss makes a grinding noise like a careless boulder scattering innocent shale in its wake. Quite. The problem with electing a fool is that he is then beholden to the people who elected him for that very quality. You would prefer a monarchy to a democracy, then? True, a monarchy invests the authority of rule in a single figure, theoretically beholden to no one except time's passage. The monarch then must always worry for their succession. It is better that he or she be eternal, then. But even then, to rule requires someone to be ruled. There would always be intermediaries. Which is what we two are, a thing we hold in common. So, service is a requisite for good government, then? Are you two really talking politics? When in the abstract. I suppose we were searching for common ground. Beyond this delightful bottle. Which has, alas, no effect upon my anatomy beyond a reddening of the clay. But I suppose my observation was that it's not so different what we do, you and I. We work, we serve. We question, but we work. Higher status than most, but... Someone else has the authority, the right. And the answers. I suppose the difference between us Beyond the obvious? Oh yes, that difference. I am male, you are female. Oh no, I meant... But beyond that trifling detail, you have not chosen your circumstances, but you have chosen your station. A fair point, and neither of you chosen yours, but you have left. I can always return, when the king will have me. Yes, I'm sure you'll be welcomed back, Moss. Until then, I am glad to have experienced the diversity of opinion. Wait, until then, I am glad to have experienced the diversity of opinion London boasts. And yours in particular, Reese. Yes, well, I can't say I'm sorry to have got to know you, Moss. Now, let's call it a night before we descend into sentimentality. That is the perfect outfit to make yourself something better to wear. Horatia looks in on me after dinner, though I'm not the one she's looking for. There's a man in from the night. Invited himself, bold as brass. Says he's here for Mr. Moss. I assume houses such as ours will be inundated. One blooms, not a spring. Though I suppose we shan't see either again. He seems cheerful, at least. Merry, if odd. I'll just go and fetch down Mr. Moss for him. I shan't be a tick. And yet in her dreams, sometimes she is a bee nesting at the center of a great hive. Attended by drones and spooled in honey, she need never leave but her drones. My, how they fly! Forgive me my manners. A delight to be reacquainted. What brings you to the boarding house? Well, not you, I am sorry to say. I wanted to see the one who came across the sea to bring me a crown. Speaking of, here, take it back. I find its habit of issuing proclamations most tiresome. Our habit, and we would not have to be so repetitious with our requests if you listened to them. The horned crown. There are always risks in wearing a hat with opinions of its own. Odd sods, it is you! Your face is his, he would never have shared it. Moss makes a rumbling noise deep in his throat. You have me at a disadvantage, for though the king has spoken much of you, I do not know you. But some part of you must recall the cedars, the heart, and the knife. What you said as I held your hand, what I said as I held the blade. Can you really have forgotten all I meant to you? Moss makes a sound like loose pebbles falling into a fountain. I think you have me mistaken. I am the messenger, not the king. I whisper to Moss that he should allow May to think what he will. I suppose I may have memories. I have been told much of you. If you were dear to him, then it follows you should be dear to me, I suppose. You loved me once, long ago. I was a priest, but you supplanted my god from the day I saw you. The fever on your brow that flushed your cheek, the bands of bronze upon your chest. A traveler returning from who knows where stumbled into my camp. Such a simple beginning for so grand a thing. Such epics we wove when we were two. That's tragedy a monument to our love. For the world could not abide such a story as we. Forgive me, I know of whom you speak, but I am not he. He makes a noise like the formation of clay in a kiln. I can think of no greater oath in Loamsprach to express the depths of my contrition for the deception. It is only my heart's clueless fancy that caused me to mistake you for him. I am the intended recipient of the crown you bore, a gift chosen for its cruelty, a representation of all I lost, so he can gain what he casually discards. A cruelty I have earned. Indeed, I savour its every cut. I thought our tradition was ended long ago, yet by chance it continues with you. The king forbade us to speak of you. He told me only what was needed. He makes a long grinding noise like the erosion of chalk cliffs. Continues for some time. Enough to find you, but I know so little else about you. Even how to address you. I know what my king would command, but he is not here. He looks to me as though searching for the answer to a riddle. Do what you think is best, Moss. I must think on my king's wishes. This task was given to me and no other. The king's trust is in my diplomacy. In such a long span of time for the task, any changes must be assumed to be accounted for, and thus immaterial. I am glad we have found an accord. When from out of the king's rule, kindness is so much easier to find. He would be furious, of course, that we find solace beyond the comfort of his own love. To hate and to keep his affection is of the smothering kind. But make no mistake, we are out of his shadow. Or why else would he cast you off like shale from a mountain's shoulder? Abandon you to the ruin of the last city and the fall of this one. Moss makes a noise like the fracturing of diamond deep in a mountain heart. How was he to know that the task would be so difficult? Nor could he have expected a city to fall while I was in the last one. Moss makes a reluctant sound like Sisyphus taking a moment's pause. Had he known, I am certain he would have summoned me home. The truth is such a bitter draught I've found. I am like you, Moss. I have served faithfully and been found wanting. In all those centuries he has acknowledged me but rarely, and then only to insult. He has made you in his image. You have served as ably as you could, I have no doubt. But you have failed. He has discarded you, just as he did me. He has left you alone in this strange place. He has known the fall of cities before. He knows their signs, and still he did not call you back. Why would he send you to someone he hated if he wanted you to succeed? Perhaps a change of heart. When has he ever had that? Come, moss upon limestone, you know I speak the truth. Even your friend sees it. Would you both excuse me? He makes a sound that resembles sudden rain upon a mountainside. I am glad that you have received our king's gift, and I am glad my task is now at an end. Goodbye, May. Oh dear, I seem to have caused discord between us. It was never my intention, only to clarify his mind to the truth, and make clear the connection that links us as strong as silver. You were awful to Moss just now. The truth is awful. Come on. That particularity does not make it less true. Best to hear it from someone who understands. Then board the first ship to Polythrame and find all gates barred. The clock chimes, and like the cinders, girl, I am without my shoes. Should Moss have questions, and I am in the mood for badinage, of course, he should know where and how to find me. As for you, whom he so clearly relies upon, I might myself wonder how he came to be abandoned were I you. Happily, I am not. But I assure you there is a breach between him and his king. I know the marks to look for when the king severs one of his own. A good night to you, and pleasant dreams. Day 294. 11 days remain in the season of Yule. I get to the morning newspaper after Grease is done with it. The headlines today read: Initial exploration of sunken parliament retrieves prelapsarian artifacts. Speaker's mace, Jubilee crockery, ministerial remains, pig, deceased. Ministerial remains, perhaps not deceased. Speaker's mace, likely still deceased. Jubilee crockery, status unknown. And with that, I believe I will call it for tonight. Thank you for watching. I have been James, and the game has been Mask of the Rose. If you would like to see me play some more, please follow me on Twitch. Thank you again,